One bad or even bland letter of recommendation could mean the difference between medical school acceptance and rejection. Dr. Jubal, MedSchoolInsiders.com. After working with thousands of medical school applicants, we've seen letters of recommendations derail an application countless times. This is because letters are the most underrated and overlooked piece of the application. Since students don't write them, they often believe the letters are out of their control, so they prioritize the other aspects of their application and hope for the best. But this is a massive misconception and a costly mistake. You have control over your letters of recommendation. Don't fall for the same mistake that has led to medical school rejection for thousands upon thousands of once hopeful premeds. Here are 6 steps to securing strong, glowing letters of recommendation. First, start building strong, quality relationships early. After all, letters of recommendation are an objective summary of your unique skills written by a qualified professional, ideally one who knows you well and thinks highly of you. So the only way to secure a strong letter is to build a relationship with a respected professional. Strong relationships won't just appear. They require dedicated time and effort. Begin building relationships as soon as possible, because if you wait until application season begins, you won't have time to build the connections you need for strong letters. Approach relationships with mentors, professors, and employers with the idea that they could one day be your letter writers. Use office hours to your advantage. You need letters of recommendation from professors, and the best way to build these relationships is through office hour participation. And don't just sit there hoping for the best. Come prepared with relevant, interesting, and engaging questions. If you can't meet in person, schedule virtual meetings. Maintain contact as much as you can, but at the same time, be authentic and professional. Don't pester the other person. Keep a calendar to remember to keep in touch with your connections at a reasonable cadence. Pro tip: use the snooze feature in your email to automate your communication reminders. This ensures you won't forget about your line of communication, and always express gratitude for their time, since these are busy people in high demand. Next, engage authentically with people who share your interests. What classes or activities are you most passionate about, and who's in charge of them? There's a good chance you'll be able to easily strike up genuine conversations with these people. Who are you drawn to, and who do you get along with? When you align those things, the friction and effort to build a relationship and secure a strong letter will be greatly reduced. When I was at UCLA, there was one professor who was widely regarded as difficult, mean, and unapproachable. However, I genuinely enjoyed biochemistry, and I was interested in connecting what we were learning to other topics in neuroscience, which I was majoring in at the time. Because of my interest, we had many engaging conversations, even at the beginning of the quarter when her office hours were empty. She ended up writing one of my most glowing letters of recommendation, which multiple interviewers commented on my medical school interview trail. Other students tried to get letters from her too, particularly toward the end of the quarter when her office hours were packed, but their lack of interest in the topic and inauthenticity showed through. She wasn't one for bullshit, so I can't imagine any of them received a strong letter. Next, choose your letter writers wisely. Letter of recommendation requirements vary from medical school to medical school. Most schools require at least 3 letters, but some may ask for more. Make sure you check the specific requirements of each school you hope to apply to. We recommend applicants secure 4 to 5 strong letters of recommendation. Note that if you're applying through AA COMAS, the application service for osteopathic medical schools, one of your letter writers must be written by an osteopath. If applying through TMD SAS, the application service for most Texas schools, you are only allowed 3 individual letters or a committee packet. For more information on the differences between these application types, check out our free guides linked in the description. For a typical AMCAS application, 3 of your letters should be academic letters written by undergraduate professors, 2 science letters, and 1 non-science letter. The 2 remaining letters are from your extracurriculars, typically research and clinical experience. That said, don't sacrifice quality for variety. It's more important to have strong letters than it is to check off every box. The letter writer must know you well and be able to speak about your unique abilities and qualities in detail. You could also ask a TA or an employer for a letter of recommendation if they know you better than your other options. With a TA, you would ask the professor to co-sign the letter because it will carry more weight with an admissions committee. While it may be tempting to secure a respected, recognizable name, it's much more important that you choose someone who knows you well and thinks very highly of you. If you've only had a few conversations with the person you're asking to write your letter, it won't be effective. They won't be able to offer meaningful insight into who you are. Choose someone who can speak about your strengths on a deep level, and be sure to ask for a letter when the relationship is at its strongest. Don't wait until it's time to craft your application. If you do particularly well in a class and have a great rapport with the professor, ask for a letter of recommendation shortly after the class ends. Waiting a year or two until you plan to apply could mean they no longer remember you well enough. While this may feel a little disheartening, keep in mind that professors teach hundreds of students every year. Next, and most importantly, your letters must be strong. There's no getting around this point. Even a generic letter looks bad to admissions committees. The largest issue we see is not that students don't have enough letters or letters from the right types of people, but rather the letters they submit aren't strong enough. And if what the letter writer says doesn't match the applicant's glowing claims about themselves, it raises red flags with adcoms. Your letter must emphatically and enthusiastically speak to your skills and special qualities, and the more details a letter writer can provide, the better. Never ask a professor for a letter of recommendation if you received anything below an A- in their class. There's a good chance other students who scored higher are also asking this professor for a recommendation, and how can they sing your praises when you're not even at the top of their class? However, there's quite a bit of nuance here. Simply scoring well in a class is not nearly enough to earn a strong letter. A strong letter also depends on the strength of your relationship. You may have scored an A+ in a certain class, but if you have no relationship with the professor, they won't have much to say about you. On the other hand, if you were scoring C's in a class at first, but stuck with it, worked your butt off, formed a solid relationship with your professor by attending office hours, and raised your grade to a B+ by the end, that professor likely has great things to say about you because they know you well and your performance demonstrates resilience. Securing strong letters is why it's vital to begin cultivating relationships early on in college. By the time application season rolls around, it will be too late to build these connections, and forcing them will only come across as needy, inauthentic, and self-serving. Next, be thorough in your communication with letter writers. Let them know exactly how to submit letters as well as everything that's required of them. The professors and professionals you are asking for evaluations are busy people, so do all you can to ease the process. Send your evaluators any additional materials they may want to look at, including your updated CV, academic transcript, MCAT score, and personal statement, as well as a clear deadline. And make sure the deadline you set is well before the date you hope to receive your letters so that letters don't come in late. Give your letter writers as much time as possible, about 2 to 3 months, and set a reminder to check in with them 2 weeks before the due date. When it comes to your professors, stopping by in person in between classes to catch up will remind them about your letter without you explicitly reminding them. This is something I wish I did more of when I was in college. I was too caught up thinking I would be a nuisance if I dropped in, but now that I'm older, I recognize that in most cases, the professors I had a strong relationship with would have been happy to see me. For example, that tough professor from UCLA who gave me my strongest letter was thrilled to hear from me when I wrote her to share that I'd gotten into my top choice medical school. In hindsight, I could have checked in person more frequently. When it comes to actually submitting letters, your writers must submit electronically through the AMCAS letter writer application or Interfolio. You do not review or submit your own letters of recommendation. In fact, it's important to waive your right to review the letter, otherwise it won't hold as much weight with admissions committees. You will need to provide each of your letter authors with submission information, including your AAMC ID and a unique 7-digit letter ID. Each letter writer will be assigned to an individual letter ID when you add them to your AMCAS application, which is needed to upload your letters. If you are applying through multiple services, such as AMCAS, TMD SAS, or AA COMAS, Interfolio acts as a go-between so that writers only need to upload once. However, However, they will still need their unique 7-digit letter ID or their letter to be matched to your application. Letters submitted through either process will be marked as received. This will happen immediately with AMCAS and within 3 days for Interfolio. If a letter is not marked as received, contact your letter writer and ask them to submit the letter again. So what happens if a letter writer says no? To start, always ask if a potential letter writer is willing to write you a strong letter of recommendation. It's imperative that you use this language when you make your request. Pay close attention to how people react when you ask them for a letter of recommendation. Hesitation is not a good sign, and never push for a yes if you've already received a no. Lack of interest from someone could indicate they will not be able to speak highly of you, or that they simply don't have the time to write you a quality letter. If a potential letter writer says no, it likely means they do not feel they know you well enough, they're already swamped with other requests, or they don't have confidence in you. Whatever the reason, move on to another option. This is why it's essential to build multiple strong relationships early on and throughout college. And remember, don't wait until it's time to craft your application to ask for a letter. Ask when the relationship is strong and top of mind. These are the top methods to secure great letters, but also be sure to check out our complete written guide on the Med School Insider's website, link in the description, which includes additional factors we couldn't fit into this video. Letters are only one aspect of the complex medical school application. Any single misstep can derail your chances of acceptance, whether it be an uninspiring personal statement, generic activities, or a poor interview performance. At Med School Insiders, we help students overcome the odds despite not having great stats. We've worked with more than 12,000 students to date, helping them achieve multiple acceptances and scholarships to top medical schools no matter where they're starting from. From making strategic decisions in high school to preparing medical school applications to succeeding in medical school and beyond, we will help you design your ideal doctor career. Our satisfaction ratings and success stories speak for themselves, but don't take it from us. Learn more about our process and read our reviews at medschoolinsiders.com.